Okay. Last week I was working on the performance integration into Jenkins. Basically, it happens on the safe side. To be specific, I'm added tools to I'm posting in the chat window to run CB test locally based on the work by Redec. So we are able to run CBT using a single command line. And I think my next step is to write another tool to compare the performance test, the test result with that of a baseline and give that a result to vote up or vote down to a certain change, and that's all. And aside from it, I will also to do some performance tests regarding to the serialized RocksDB to figure out what route we will be going. That's me. Chunmei. By the way, I'm still reviewing your change, Chunmei.
Okay. I just joined. I didn't hear you. So can you give me a summary about what you did?
Sure. Last week I was working on the CBT-based performance test. So it's basically worked fine. So the end result is that we can run a CBT test with a single command line, and then my next step is to first is to integrate it into the Jenkins, and another thing is to write another tool to compare the test result with that of a baseline produced by the master branch, so we can vote up or vote down to a certain PR. And aside from it, I will also do some performance tests regarding to my serialized BlueStor, so we can figure out what route we will take regarding to the future of BlueStor. BlueStor in Crimson, to be specific. That's me.
Oh, okay. So no much in process from me this week. I attend the Flash Memory Summit, and I took several days to find a issue when I build the alien store integrated in the BlueStor, and the GDB will hang when I run the process in the GDB. Finally, I found out that because the heap profile I couldn't use the heap profile in the SeaStor framework. I have to disable the heap profile, otherwise the GDB cannot run. So after load the Crimson OSD symbol, and it printed using the lib thread db.so.1, it will stack there, and you couldn't run any command. You couldn't. So I took several days to find out that the SeaStor, the allocator, has confliction with the heap profile in the Ceph. So I have to disable the heap profile when it builds into
you are using tcmalloc. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Heap profile using tcmalloc, and so maybe there's some confliction. So GDB will hang there, and I couldn't debug on it when I target link the library KV, the KV library link to the alien store, and the heap profile link to the KV, then so the GDB blocked there. I couldn't debug, continue to debug. Finally, I disabled the heap profile, disabled the tcmalloc in the BlueStor. So GDB can continue on. You can run the run command, execute the run command in GDB.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my current.
I forgot to mention that some guy on YouTube comment on our recording of this stand up. He mentioned that if he was asking if we have looked at SeaDB because it implements a Kiwi store basically. So I haven't done so. But
SkyDB, you mean?
yes, it doesn't implement Kiwi store. From my best understanding, yes.
Oh, okay.
From my best understanding, it's the design is pretty much that of it's very like that of RocksDB or LevelDB, but
it's a C++ reimplementation of Cassandra, right?
Yes, but online of it implements SS RocksDB and LevelDB using SST.
Yeah, because that's how Cassandra works.
Yeah.
I remember it has also implemented compaction like RocksDB. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
It's the parent project for SeaStor, right? That's why SeaStor exists.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Their company created SeaStor in order to implement SoloDB.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's worthy, but if its interface is quite like that of RocksDB, probably we can take a look at it. But I will.
Keep in mind that it's a distributed key value store, right? It's like Cassandra. So in that sense, clearly somewhere there's something that writes key value objects to a disk. So in that sense, perhaps we can lift something out of it. Is it open source?
Yes, it's open source. But I think on one hand it's a distributed Kiwi store, but on the other hand it should have a local Kiwi store underneath.
Right. So perhaps we could lift that implementation out.
Exactly.
But also it may not be optimized for the things we want to be optimized for. So we'll have
yes,
to look.
Sure.
Because I mean, RocksDB isn't super appropriate for a use case either. Maybe T-Rocks though.
Anyway, it's worth to look. Thank you, Treme. Anyway, it's worth to take a look at it to evaluate it if it suits our needs or not.
Can you paste a link in the chat for what you mentioned?
Not at this moment. Probably I will send a mail.
Okay.
Okay. But the code base is embedded in the SeaDB database. It's not a separate Kiwi store implementation.
Okay.
Radek.
Hello. A bunch of PRs related to Ceph classes over last week. Let's start from PRs for classical OSD. During the work, it turned out that some behavior related to, especially related to PGLS filtering, might need some alternations, basically cleanups in classical OSD. First one is about carrying, I believe, unintentional carrying of PGLS filter between multiple operations inside MOSD op. Second one is about a feature that appears to be unused. The feature is about carrying data from PGLS filter to client, and we do serialization. We put the data on the wire and read it back in Objector to a field called extra info. However, this field is our private one, and nobody uses it. So it seems strange. I grabbed the kernel source and cannot find any user even there. So made a PR dropping this stuff entirely, waiting for reviews there. The last PR is the initial version, is the part 1 of the Ceph class support for Crimson. It allows to pass CLS hello. Right now, I'm working on implementing more CLS CXX methods to let RBD work. That's me. Besides of that, some fix-ups and for some fix-ups for CBT and reviews. That's me.
Hey, Ronan, how's it going?
Hi. Well, you're part of what I'm doing. I issued a temporary PR for adding support for Unix domain sockets into PR. And what I did was a quick and dirty option of doing things. And following comments, I was thinking about how to do it better. What I did was yesterday I sent a detailed question to the SeaStor mailing list. After I tried to talk internally with people within SeaStor, I simply sent a question. Avi Kiviti from SeaStor, from Sela, answered. He suggests an even bigger change. He suggests dropping the template, making the whole socket implementation non-templated, doing a different kind of change. I just read it in the morning. I will read it again and try to see what involves in implementing it. This is one thing I'll do. And the second, I'm going to try to at least show a usage of what I'm doing, supporting some simple admin users, admin commands, 1 or 2 commands to see that I know how to do that. This is what I'm hoping to do this week. That's one thing.
The ASOC support in Crimson.
Sorry?
I see you are working on the ASOC support.
Yes.
Okay.
And 2 more comments. One, there is the SeaStor summit in November in San Francisco, and I was wondering who is coming. Who knows who is coming to the meeting? Sam said he's coming, I think.
Yeah, I'll be going.
I also would like to be there. I'm also coming.
Me too, but I saw Trimay send a mail to Ivy to asking for the registration fee, but I didn't see the reply from Ivy.
He said it's 100. He said $100.
Okay, so it's not for free, but that's only for the this summit, right?
This for the SeaStor meeting, which is the day before the actual SeaDB meeting. Off.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
And it's not expensive anyway. So it's only
Yeah, I just want to ask: it is a separate registration, or we use the ScalaDB summit registration?
I think they are separate things, right?
On the same place.
Yeah, in the registration, which website we can use for the registration? I didn't find the SeaStor Summit registration. I just found the ScalaDB registration.
Yeah,
they didn't send out, right?
They don't have it yet. I don't think they have the lineup yet. So anyway, it won't be an expensive compared to 1 day sleeping there in San Francisco, which is more than the whole conference, including the SeaDB. So yes, I will be there, and I wonder if we want to arrange for a team meeting before or the day before, the day after.
Yeah, I think that's
maybe
a
on
really
the
good idea.
Yeah, we will surely.
You want us to arrange for a room to meet at least on the first day of SeaDB on the 5th.
I don't have a I don't have a plan for it, but I think we will have a meeting offline just for discussing the Crimson OSD, just by our team. But I didn't figure out when will we have that meeting, because the time, because I haven't applied for the meeting.
Okay, so just I think everyone just tell me what you prefer, if on the 3rd or on the 5th, and then I'll have my arrangement made to accommodate that. I think it makes sense to have the meeting on the 5th, to have our meeting on the 5th.
I mean, they're both weekdays,
Yeah,
right?
Sorry?
They're both during the week. Both of those days are. Yeah, either day works for me. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So, and then we'll have to arrange for a room or somewhere to meet during that.
Probably I can send a mail to discuss this offline to figure out when and where we should have the meeting.
I mean, for one thing, if it's physically I mean, where is it? Is it in like South Bay Area? It's in South Bay Area, right? Like in San Jose or something? There's a Red Hat office down there with perfectly.
Oh yes, we can do that.
So if we're there and not San Francisco, that makes sense. If we're in San Francisco, that's a long way. But
well, we can get to everywhere.
I don't think they had nailed down the exact avenue for the meeting, right? Did they?
Oh no, I meant the location of the conference.
Okay.
Okay, that's. I don't know the map that good, so I'll have to look it up to see where it is.
My manager asked me to attend the SeaStor Summit. It's near to me.
Good.
Yeah, so,
good.
By the transitive property,
nice.
It's also near the Red Hat office.
So if you can make it, and it's no problem for me.
Good. So we have a meeting there. The day after
we can
or
meet
the day
in
before.
Red Hat office, I think.
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
I'll continue discussion regarding to the meeting time and schedule of the line. And
Okay.
email to start the discussion. And Samuel, what's up?
I was at a ton the last 2 weeks. Last week I was in at the Flash Memory Summit. Talked to me. That was good. The main takeaway from that meeting is that we care a lot about zone namespace SSDs, probably for SeaStor. It's going to matter. It's just an SSD you have to write to sequentially. It's not the end of the world. But it looks like that's the way the industry is going, particularly for quad level cell memory. So that'll be important when we start designing the disk layouts and stuff for SeaStor. What I want to do this week is I'm getting started on implementing log-based recovery in Dactyl Crimson. So that's what I'm going to do, unless someone else is working on that. But if not, that's what I'm up to. That's it.
Okay, I think that's
Question, Sam? A question? Sam,
Yeah.
Did you hear, was there any talk about the in-disk object key value stores?
I heard I
Samsung-
spent a bunch of time talking about this guy from Samsung. I've got his name somewhere.
And it's something that gains traction? It's something that will be important for us?
Lost
Yeah.
my note. I can't remember what his name was, but yeah, I spent some time talking to him. The main takeaway from that technology seems to be offloading the CPU usage from the host, because you don't have to run a RocksDB instance, because RocksDB is particularly expensive in CPU usage. But the only vendor I talked to that was implementing one of these is this guy from Samsung. So I don't know. From what I can tell, maybe not so much. And even if here's the kicker. They're working on putting it under, or creating an object store implementation based on it for Ceph, for classic OSD, but they haven't implemented transactions yet. And for those of us who were around for the Kinetic effort a few years ago, that was what killed it. The problem is that these drives do not have transactions built in, and Ceph needs transactions. So if you have a key value store with no multi-key transactions, you have to implement logging using keys, which means you're double writing using keys and then writing to the actual keys you want to write to, which isn't good. So I don't know. My instinct is that that's a very complicated interface to standardize in a way that will be efficient for a lot of uses. So it's probably not going to have legs, but I'm happy to be wrong. We'll see. The zone namespace SSD, though, there were at least 4 vendors hawking versions of that. It's super popular. So that one for sure. The key value thing, we'll keep an eye out. Maybe it does catch on. It's a SNIA standard now, so it's not totally crazy. Like, there is a standardized interface for it now.
They succeeded in making it a SNIA interface?
SNIA, yeah. But it's not built in NVMe yet, I don't think. So, I don't know. We'll see. That's a good question. That's something Sage has been tracking closely as well, I know.
So the market will be very segregated regarding to the implementation of a SeaStor, because some of the vendor will have it and a lot of them won't have it, right?
If it ever gets any traction at all. Right now it's still in the sort of prototype beta phase. This isn't the first time a technology like this has come up. There were efforts to do Ethernet connected hard disks a few years ago with the key value store interface. There's even an implementation in the Ceph code base for it. I think that's the KV store thing somewhere down in there. And it was never anything like something you'd want to use. The only way that version made sense is if you actually ran the OSD on the drive, which would be cool. That would be an interesting option. But having both the extra expense of the more complicated drive and a full Ceph host running doesn't make sense from a TCO point of view. So, but these aren't that. These are more like they're running the key value store on disk stuff in the FTL layer microcontroller. So it doesn't increase platform costs as much as you think. It's just that the interface seems very restrictive, and it seems like if you have to do anything that forces you to overlay something more complicated on top of the keys, you give back all the performance gains the key value store interface gave you in the first place. You see what I mean? And like
they are aware of that?
Sorry?
The guy you talked with from Samsung is aware of that probably.
I described these problems to him, and he's saying they're still working on the implementation. So it's possible, right? They may very well add multi-key transactions directly into the drive, but if they do that, they're going to greatly increase the complexity, and there will be performance penalties. So it will affect the performance they're able to measure. And once they do that, it may be the case that it's no faster, right? Or maybe it is. I don't know. So far I would mark it as a thing to watch, but it's not as much. It's not nearly as obvious as the ZNS stuff.
This might be a question to hold him. I don't know if you saw, but there will be they are preparing now the questions for the Ceph users questionnaire for this year. Are there is a questionnaire that is sent to all our customers or Ceph users, asking specific questions regarding sizes, usage, types of replica, etc. And this is our chance to add or request to add questions to understand what our users need. Maybe if we have things that we are only guessing at what is important, what is prevalent in Ceph usage, this is our chance to add questions. So it might be a good idea to check this and see if something is missing.
I'll keep that in mind.
Anything?
Hi, I'm still working on the unit test, and this is a current example of a test And the first part, we can define which step is failed, and the second part is to define how test runs and wait for the result. And the third part is to check that all the breakpoints are triggered correctly. And I'm still working on to add more test cases and test features, and continue to do fixes in the messenger. So that's all this week.
So you are working on the photo injection framework in Crimson OSD. Sorry, the Crimson Messenger. Is that right? Yeah, and it ignores the difference of peer to ignore whether it is Crimson or as async. Yeah, I think it's a framework to test. Very cool. Any questions, guys?
A question, not on this. If you mean generally, maybe anybody knows anything about SeaStor API v2? I noticed that in the code there is a major change in some of the networking, at least code that I saw, supporting some second version of the API. Do you know what's going on there?
I think they're trying to deprecate some API like varied future. So as the deprecation won't be backward compatible, they are introducing some v2 API interface to help the transition from old API to new one. That's my understanding regarding to the v1 and v2 API in SeaStor. They have some discussion over the mailing. Sorry, not the mailing, in the Google group also. And it was Evie who suggested the v1 v2 stuff. Any questions? Okay, I will send out the mail for the discussion of our offline discussion in SeaStor Meet. And till next week. Good day and good night.
See you.
Bye.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.